Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, hello. These lights are bright. This is a beautiful room. Beautiful county. I'm so happy to be here with everybody right now. I'm going to continue riffing and ranting. In the radio business, this is what we call filling airtime as people find their seats. Yeah, this guy gets it right here. That's right. Thank you so much, by the way, for everybody joining us this evening. We're going to get this thing rolling. As everyone making your way to the seats, feel free to volunteer over there. See Hattie Bryant down here if you want to do some poll watching in Davidson County. I'm going to bring up Kathy Harms right now to open us up in a word of prayer. So if you could, work your way to the seats, settle it down. We'll get Kathy to come here and open us up for a word of prayer. Thank you.
Good evening. If you could just bow your heads for a moment and we'll open with prayer. First of all, Lord, we thank you for your mercies, that we thank you that they are new every morning. We thank you, Lord God, that you are good, and that you have brought us together for this gathering tonight to discuss the two important spheres of your sovereignty, which are both families and government. You alone have designed both with specific functions, duties, and responsibilities. We ask for your favor on this meeting that we will discuss how each may properly be served by the other. We ask that you reestablish families as your intention for a good and well-ordered society, as a companion, not a servant to government. You alone have established the family to be foundational to a strong and prosperous community, and we ask you to help us to remember those boundaries that you have placed on government in order that they may remain faithful to restrain evil and as a means to protect and defend the family here in our community. In our discussion tonight, we ask that we learn and discern how to best reflect your purposes in your design for both. As Exodus 18 reminds us, those we are to seek for leadership should be men and women that fear God, are trustworthy, and are averse to dishonest gain. Teach us and lead us to those individuals tonight in our efforts this evening, prospering this work with every means to accomplish the task. Bless our speakers and our leaders here this evening. Amen.
Folks, if we can stand, we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Representative Terry Lynn Weaver, we're blessed by her beautiful voice tonight. Can we make sure her microphone is on, by the way? It's going to sing the national anthem for us. There we go.
Thank you. Remain standing with me, please, as we sing our national anthem together. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, thus be it e'er, when free men shall stand between their loved home and the war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace. Let the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must, when our cause it is just, and this be our motto: in God is our trust. Then the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave. God bless America. God bless Tennessee.
I want to start by thanking all of you sincerely for coming out here tonight. I can't tell you how encouraged, enthused I am by the people in this room, the quality and caliber of this room in itself. There's something palpable happening in Middle Tennessee. I know you're starting to feel it, yeah? Without delay anymore, let me introduce the first speaker of tonight. Big John Smith, as he is affectionately known by the Moms of Liberty, Williamson County. He's a retired sheriff's deputy from Davidson County who has lived his life in service to the community. His life of humble service continues as evidenced by his presence here tonight. He would like to share a few words with the citizens of Williamson County, so please, everybody, welcome to the stage, Big John Smith.
Thank you. I'm not going to be too long on this mic tonight. Friends, I am not an off-the-cuff speaker. I have to write down what I'm going to say tonight. Read what I said tonight. I hope you don't mind. When I was asked to come here and talk tonight, my friends, I was in awe and left speechless. Because to have the honor to be in a room full of people who love their country and want to see it restored, to God, I am so grateful. And to you, my friends, you are warriors. But then I had that task of thinking of what I'm going to say, so I'll try. You see, I believe that all of us in this room are here because of what is going on in our nation, because of the people who have taken over the rings of power and what they're doing. So what could I say that you don't already know? But something happened to me the other day I want to share with you. You see, when I was working out at the gym, an elderly gentleman approached me. And most of the time, people don't approach me at all because I'm so big and scary, you know. But he started talking to me anyway. He told me how old he was. He was 82 years old. And he told me about the time he was in Europe in the army, and he witnessed communism firsthand. He said there were big walls manned with machine guns, and sometimes at night you can hear that rat-a-tat-tat. And you knew then somebody was mowed down trying to climb the wall to escape their country's tyranny. They wanted to be free. And then he said to me, speaking of America, brother, I cannot understand why people in the most greatest nation in the world will want to put their citizens under that devilish system. And why do they want to teach our kids garbage, turning them against each other, dumbing them down to where they would never know the freedom that you and me had? Friends, I could see the deep concern in his eyes, and it touched me so much. He is like so many Americans that are awake, not woke, that are afraid that they have lost their country. So, folks, what I have to say here tonight is, yes, we have been through some of the most awful months imaginable. We are seeing despotism and tyranny right before our eyes, and we're mad as hell. But this emotion, my friends, should be to our advantage, to give us the energy to move forward. You know, it is my belief and the belief of others that our country had a grace period when we had Donald Trump. Otherwise, if Hillary had won, the complete transformation, the complete fundamental transformation of our nation would have been complete. You see, Trump took the cloak off the swamp. He gave us the opportunity to see the operation of leaders on both sides of the political aisle. He saw what they were doing, and he fought tooth and nails. But bless his heart, he was fighting, with the exception of some good Republicans, by himself. He's not president now, and now, guess he is. I'm talking about on paper. But now it's truly up to us. And you know what, friends? It's always been to us to save our nation. Do you remember from that first Minuteman to those soldiers who died in the fields of our country during the Civil War? Fast forward to the young men who stepped on the beaches of Normandy, to the people who fought for civil and human rights to life. To the mothers who are standing up for our God-given parental rights, and you here in this hall who's trying to choose good moral leadership. In conclusion, my friends, we are fighting against spiritual darkness, against the devil himself. And make no mistake, it is him that wants our nation. It is he that wants our children. And it's he that wants to put us in chains. More than I have ever known in my whole life, we need the shield of the Lord to protect us with his guidance and his mercy. And brothers and sisters, that comes with submission. And remember, my friends, God is going to win in the end. Williamson County, you are so vital to the freedom of this state here. I want to thank you, and God bless you in the name of Jesus, Yeshua, and God bless our country. Amen.
Some of you, actually most of you probably don't know me in this room. Some of you may know me as a talk radio personality. Others may know me from lobbying up on the Hill in Tennessee here. Others may know me as the president of a nonprofit called Biblically Conservative. And I think most might know me from doing grassroots engagement work for the last 2 years here. My name is Grant Henry, by the way. Right? But regardless of how you know me, tonight is really about y'all. And I think back to December when I was doing some grassroots work with this group, Americans for Prosperity, that I work for. We were knocking doors in Georgia. It's last December, in Ringgold, Georgia. It's about 40 or 50 of us down there. Actually, a few of you were down there with us, I believe, right? If you don't know anything about Ringgold, Georgia is God's country. It is. And I'm pretty sure there's more hills per capita in Ringgold, Georgia than anywhere else in the entire United States. The problem with Ringgold, Georgia, is every other door you go to, it's about a quarter mile up the driveway and 2 flights of stairs to get to the top floor, yeah? So this one door in particular, I'm walking up to the top. I'm completely winded by the time I get up there. And I see the front door is standing open and that porch door is sitting right there. And I can see down the long hallway the homeowner is sitting there on a lazy boy watching television. I'm completely winded by the time I get up there, so I'm huffing and puffing. And he turns and makes eye contact with me before he can even knock on the door. And keep in mind, we're knocking for sitting Senator David Perdue at the time. And this guy, 6'4", 6'5", comes barreling through that screen door, whips it open, hits the banister. I almost tumbled down the back of these stairs, and I'm holding these things in my sleeve, and it's big David Perdue face right there. And he turns to me and says, "Listen, buddy, listen, I like your guy. I'm supporting your guy, but there ain't no way I'm voting." And he proceeds to launch into this 15-minute tirade about how he doesn't trust the system anymore. His vote's not going to count. He's not going to show up. He's just not going to participate. And I think then it hit me all at once what it is that we're dealing with as conservatives, at least at that time. We were experiencing a sense of existential dread. Why do I exist? What do I mean in the political realm anymore? What does our presence matter anymore? How do we get involved to actually make a difference? And can our voices even be heard again? And the more I focused on these problems, the more I attempted to find solutions. And the more I attempted to find solutions, the more depressed I became. So I eventually turned to God, and I found encouragement. I quickly realized that there was a purpose behind this state of turmoil that we're currently in right now. There's a calling in the chaos. There is a calling to make order out of this chaos. These are the times that are meant to build character, to build strength, to test our resolve. These are the times that are meant to show the enemy what we are made of. These are the most important times to be alive, to hold the values that we hold right now. The world needs bold truth tellers now more than ever. I'm hoping to be a sense of encouragement to you all tonight. As I was getting ready for talking here tonight, I thought back about, do y'all remember in the mid-'80s when these scientists were making these biodomes out in the deserts? Right? Weird analogy, but follow me here for a minute. They sent these scientists out there, and they lived there for 6 months or a year, and everything worked. It was all operable, except the trees. They couldn't figure out how to get the trees to grow past a certain point. They would grow and fall over, until one scientist eventually introduced some wind. And when they introduced wind to the trees grew roots. You understand what I'm saying? These political winds that we're in right now are helping to grow the community roots that is Williamson families, that is this community right now. So I'm calling you to consider, how are you going to contribute? Will you help run for office? Will you help vet political candidates? Will you support candidates? Will you donate to this cause? There's this term called anti-fragility. It's a big term. It's talking about us as humans. It's the first time I came across this was in a book called The Coddling of the American Mind. And in that book, Jonathan Haidt tries to figure out what happened at our universities, why colleges are producing such weak people. I'm sorry if there's any college kids out there. I was one myself at some point, right? But anti-fragility is a term that's opposite from what they're speaking on college campuses right now. It is the opposite of safe spaces. It's the opposite of the idea that you're a perpetual victim. It is the opposite of you being coddled because you are a fragile being. Anti-fragility says it is because of life's stressors, shocks, and volatility that we grow. In fact, it is the tumultuous times that are the only things that are truly creating progress. There is a multitude of neuroscientific data to support this very notion. And understand, we're not just merely rigid beings. We don't just merely return to the state that we once were. It's not like a plastic cup that you knock off the edge of a banister and it returns to its previous form. Anti-fragility is beyond resilience and robustness. See, the resilient resists shock and stays the same. The anti-fragile gets better. We are anti-fragile. Conservatives and conservatism is an anti-fragile ideology. Williamson County is comprised of anti-fragile people. Nicholas Taleb said it this way: wind extinguishes a candle but energizes a fire. We should desire to be the fire and wish for the wind. Now, moreover, this pursuit to turn chaos into order, or to bring sanity back to our school systems, or to reintroduce some rationality back into the legislature, this is where true meaning comes from. I'm feeling as lost as probably everybody else in this room right now, how it comes to our political climate. But I would argue that God has blessed us with this time right now as an opportunity to properly respond and to genuinely find purpose in these tumultuous times. This is what Viktor Frankl meant when he said life is about finding meaning and purpose. It's not like power as Adler told us. It's not pleasure, as Freud told us. What truly is meaningful is finding purpose in your life. This is what Parental said. What man's actually needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal, a freely chosen task. What he needs is not the discharge of tension at any cost, but the call of a potential meeting waiting to be fulfilled by him. That is our charge, to take up the call to do something worthwhile right here, right now. Now is the time to be alive, to present this message of hope and truth that we know that we have. Sometimes I feel like I'm giving the Spider-Man pitch to people. You know, I tell them with great power comes great responsibility, right? I feel like I'm giving all you the Spider-Man pitch right now, but I'm sincere when I ask, how are you using your God-given gift to positively influence the community around you? Most of you in this room will not have the luxury of sitting this one out. We need you too much. This community needs you too much, and that's what it's about. It's about building community, serving our community, and contributing to a community that can create a sustainable culture that is capable of cultivating the best citizenry this country has ever seen. You see, we have a winning message. It's time to deliver on that message. We have a message that is distinctly different than those on the other side, that the way that a liberal governs and this ideology of governance is rooted in one of dependence and subjugation. It's not loving. See, on the contrary, it enslaves people by insinuating that you are less than you are. The liberal message is one that says that you are a liability that needs to be taken care of. You are a perpetual victim. You must be coddled. You must constantly and continually subsist upon the government for a handout. Liberal compassion is not love. It's belittling. It's demeaning. It's dehumanizing. Right? Conversely, however, on the other side of that coin, the message of conservatism is one that inspires hope. It's a message that is underlined by a Judeo-Christian ethic that says that each individual has value and purpose. You are strong. You are capable. You are powerful. You are capable of accomplishing your goals. You can start that small business. You can start that community organization. You can start that PAC. You can run for office. You can dream, accomplish your goals, and dream again. You are chosen. Some of us in this room quite literally believe that the creator of the universe has chosen you, and specifically you, for a task that only you are capable of accomplishing. It's the message of empowerment and purpose that Viktor Frankl was only grasping at. It's the message of a body of believers. One is the head, one is the foot, one is the hand, and we all need each other to be functioning properly. It's a message of communal support and alliance. Again, it is a purpose-driven message that we have as conservatives, a message that compels an individual by faith to get out in his community and start producing works for the betterment of all people. It's a message that changes hearts and minds while helping to enact societal change that physically improves our lives and the lives of those around us. This is the winning message of conservatism. This is the message that our community groups, that y'all, need to infuse back into the political process. So as I wrap here, I am calling all of you right now to consider, in these tumultuous times that require the participation of anti-fragile conservatives, how are you going to contribute? Will you run for office? Will you vet potential candidates? Will you support those candidates? Will you donate to the cause? And conveniently enough, you can do that right over there. You know? Let me go to an individual now. Thank you, yes. You don't get applause while practicing in this mirror at home, right? Yeah. Let me introduce our next speaker here, an individual that has a truly inspired story to tell. Leigh Allyn Baker is best known for her portrayal as Amy Duncan, America's favorite Disney mom in an internationally acclaimed hit series, Good Luck Charlie. Anybody? Yes? Yeah. Some Good Luck Charlie folks out there. Her career spans from reoccurring roles in charmed and Emmy Award-winning series in Will and Grace to executive producing and starring in the hit Disney Channel movie Bad Hair Day. After a thriving voice career in such shows as the Emmy Award-winning Back at the Barnyard and being the Queen in Jake and the Neverland Pirates in 7D, Leigh Allyn has discovered where her voice really matters and where it really counts. That's sharing her story right now with y'all. Please welcome to the stage, Leigh Allyn Baker.
Hello. Whoa. I left my sunglasses in the car. I was so nervous that this was going to be really tall and that I would be like this, but whew, that's good. All right. Good evening, guys. Some of you may recognize me from being in your living room on the television set, but others recognize my backside. As I told the Williamson County School Board a thing or two about masks. Now, hello friends. I might have said in this viral video that the real part of the clown show is that you all think that you have the authority to mandate this. Because there are these books that I have, and I have them as a gift for you. It's the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Federalist Papers, and also the Bible. And these guarantee my freedom and yours and our children's to breathe oxygen. Yeah. You get a Constitution, you get a Constitution, you get a Constitution. Okay, you guys, that was 59 viral seconds at the Williamson County School Board meeting that changed my life forever. Truly. I went from America's favorite Disney mom to America's favorite domestic terrorist. Can we all just agree that the domestic terrorist school board nonsense is getting a little bit out of control? Can we? I mean, I wore mom jeans and a t-shirt to walk my kids on Halloween, and people were like, let me guess, domestic terrorist. I knew it. Like, great costume. Yes. So, Joe Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland, is now going to send the FBI to investigate parents under the Patriot Act for using their First Amendment rights at school board meetings. I personally would like to investigate the Attorney General for harassing parents. And since his son-in-law started Panorama Education, a company making millions selling Marxist, racist, sexually laden, propagandizing material for our schools, I would like him to also be investigated for what we mere mortals call a conflict of interest. See, what's happening here is that the inmates are running the asylum. Right? I want to talk to you about a little game that they play that I like to call the name change game. It's where crooked politicians and the fascist global elite come up with devious plans, but give it a really nice name. Like the Patriot Act. Sounds so patriotic, doesn't it? Yeah. It's just a really nice way of saying that the government can now spy on you and use anything they find that is contradictory to their agenda as an act of terrorism. Here's another one you may be familiar with. It was on the cover of Time magazine. It's called The Great Reset. It's going to be great. Yeah. Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum says, oh, Klausy Klaus, says that by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy about it. That guy. Let's use a little logic. See if you can spot the game. We're going to break it down. You will own nothing and you will be happy about it. So I'm thinking, if I don't own my stuff, who does? Oh, you do. Oh, I can promise you I'm not going to be happy about that. So what they call the Great Reset is really the we're going to take your stuff reset. That's what that is. And Joe Biden, he actually got jealous of Klaus, so he stole the same exact concept, but he likes to call it Build Back Better. Joe's a fan of alliteration when he's coherent. Good guy, good guy. Here's another one that hits a little closer to home, critical race theory. Or as Governor Bill Leigh likes to disguise it, wit and wisdom. It's where they say they're stopping racism, but they're actually creating it. right? They tell children who never saw color before that some of them are born into this world as evil oppressors because they have very little melanin in their skin, while those with more melanin in their skin are told that they are born into this world as a victim who can never trust anyone who doesn't look just like them, and that they're never going to get a fair shake in this life. They have segregated our children based on skin color. They're using their divisive color revolution on our children. Now, I'm going to briefly explain what a color revolution is. It is literally a well-planned and documented strategy that has been implemented throughout history to cause division, instill hate, and start wars. So allow me to use the ant experiment to demonstrate. So did you know that if you take a colony of red ants and a colony of black ants and you put them in a glass jar, that they will just live peacefully? They just do what ants in a jar do on a daily basis, right? But then you put the lid on and you shake that jar really vigorously and you dump it out on the ground, and guess what happens? The ants start fighting to the death. See, this isn't about the red ants or the black ants. The real question is, who's shaking the jar? And now there's pornography in our schools. It is so graphic that when parents read it out loud at school board meetings, the school board members are so embarrassed that they turn off the mic of the parent or they throw them out of the meeting altogether. Let me tell you something. If it is so bad that an adult can't hear it, I can promise you a child should not be reading it. Joe Biden's education secretary, Miguel Cardona, said parents should not be the primary stakeholder in their kids' education. Who says that and thinks that we're going to be okay with it? That's my first question. Okay, that's a lie. You know why that's a lie? Here's why. Here's what they don't want you to know. Because your child does not belong to the school. Joe Biden doesn't own that school. That schoolhouse is your house. You pay for it. Those people that work in it, they are your employees. They work for you. Your child doesn't belong to the government, and I certainly don't co-parent with the government. The government belongs to you. Bill Leigh's job as our governor, his only true job, is to protect our freedoms. That is what we hired him to do. That is what we pay him to do. So I have a friendly reminder for Bill Leigh. This is the volunteer state, not the mandate state. And my bodily autonomy doesn't expire in 2023, no matter what bill you sign. The world is upside down right now. Someone has been shaking the jar. Brandon shook the jar. And they want us to fight each other. They want Republican against Democrat, black against white, boy against girl, gay against straight, woman against man, masked against unmasked, vaxxed against unvaxxed. They want to segregate us at every turn so that we don't focus on who is shaking the jar. I'm going to tell you something. I brought my Bible to the school board meeting that day because, well, we are one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. We are not one nation under government with a small amount of liberty and justice for those who comply. And I want to tell you that I am so grateful to live in a country where I have the First Amendment right to speak freely. It does not go unnoticed that the very freedom that has been threatened by big tech, big pharma, and this new communist administration, this very freedom I'm getting to use right now, freedom of speech. And it's really, when you think about it, it's freedom of thought, just with expression. It's one of those unalienable God-given rights. I didn't have to earn it. It was simply mine for being born in a free country founded under God, not government, God. And for those of you who are too afraid to speak up, the Bible doesn't suggest that you might want to maybe go easy on the fear thing. It doesn't. The Bible commands, do not be afraid. And it doesn't just command it once. It commands it 365 times. God has given you a do not be afraid for every day of the year. So surely you can find your bravery for such a time as this. I want to tell you something about bravery. It cannot be bought off and it cannot be silenced, and neither can I. Our freedoms are being obliterated. But here's what we're going to do about it. We're going to love our neighbor. Do not let the shakers of the jar divide us. United, we stand. Divided, we're just a bunch of ants trying to eat each other. Next, we're going to make courage contagious. Find your voice and use it. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell the person in line at the grocery store. Speak truth. I don't care if they look at you like you have 5 heads. Plant that seed. The mockingbird media propaganda is real, but 3 things always come out: the sun, the moon, and the truth. So get vocal and live local. Screw Whole Foods. I'm going to say it. I like organic produce, but I don't need Whole Foods. Get to know your local grocer and farmers. Go directly to them as much as you can. The holidays are here. Support your local small businesses. Get out of your house and walk into a store owned by a person that is not Jeff Bezos and spend your money there. And speaking of money, get it out of big banks. No more national banks, no more regional banks. Get into a local bank and spend cash while you're at it. This government wants to track everything about you. Take the power back. Let's slow down the digital currency reset by using cash as much as possible. I love it. I went to get my nails done today. I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm spending it on. Getting my nails did using cash. I mean, last I checked, the dollar was still our legal currency. Get to know it again. Carry it in your purse. Put it in your wallet. Use it. But don't just live local, give local. What is your talent? What are you good at? How can you give to your community? Get involved. I know you don't want to run for office. I know you don't want to be on the school board. I know you don't want to know much about politics. Newsflash, that's what got us into this mess. You know, if only we had some sort of like device that fits in our hands or like sits on a desk that we could look up the how-tos of getting involved in local politics. Or better yet, if only there was some sort of pack that helped you become a candidate, support candidates, or vet candidates. Hello. Tonight is your chance to give, donate, generously support the Williamson Families PAC. So, if these schools can't get it together, get out. Homeschooling is not easy, but it is so rewarding to get to deeply know your children how they learn, how their strengths shine, how they strategize in the struggles. It was not easy for me to leave my entire career, my home, and every friend I had overnight after seeing those quarantine camps up the street in Chinafornia. To move to a totally new state and homeschool for the first time, but if I can do it, you can do it. There are ways, and if you can't find a tutorial, find a co-op, make one if you have to, try homeschooling pods, find a way. So many of my old friends in California know that homeschooling would be way better for their kids, but here's the truth, it's just too inconvenient for them. This is the really ironic part. I mean, literally, you cannot make this up. They don't want to give up their freedoms. Guys, they have allowed Slimeball Newsom to imprison them in their home, keep friends and family 6 feet away, restrict their oxygen, and inject them with an experimental medical product with zero liability and a side effect of death. But homeschooling their kids would encroach on their freedom. I have learned some lessons over the past year. First and foremost, I am a child of God. And in being so, I was born with certain unalienable rights and freedoms that cannot be taken by any man or government. Your right to freedom is simply yours because you exist. It doesn't come from Biden or Fauci or Trump. It comes from God. Our government does not have the right to give you back your freedoms because they never had the right to take them in the first place. We, the people, hire and employ politicians to do our will. They work for us. We, the people, are the boss. Now, lastly, I am a mom of 2 precious boys, and it has become painstakingly obvious that there is something I love more than fame, fortune, and the spotlight. So I have a message for all the bullies out there trying to intimidate and silence me. You poked the wrong mama bear. And at that school board meeting, I was just getting warmed up. Thanks, you guys. Listen, thank you. Guys, this is a spiritual, hidden information war that is going on. And so I expect to see you on the battlefield of noncompliance, okay? And I just want to tell, if anyone's here from any district, anywhere, I just want to tell you this. You push that shot on our kids, we're so far out of that school, you have no idea.
Little inside baseball stuff here for you. Believe it or not, our next guest needs to get here as quick as possible because he's got to do Tucker Carlson right after this. So let me some impressive people in this state. I'm telling you, right? Let me just go ahead and get to this right now. The Starbucks, Robby and Landon, Williamson County family here. Landon Starbuck, yes, exactly. Landon Starbuck is a Billboard charting singer-songwriter who hit music videos on MTV. On that journey, she began to realize that the entertainment industry she worked for was not what she thought it was. She decided she could no longer be a part of the mainstream entertainment world after witnessing the rampant exploitation that takes place, particularly of children. She felt called to dedicate her life to fight for children and their right to a childhood free of exploitation. So today, every cent that she has of her independent music proceeds goes to organizations fighting trafficking and exploitation. She's an outspoken national speaker and political commentator regularly seen on national news networks. She serves on the board of Operation Lightshine in Tennessee, the advisory counselor for Lynn's Warriors in New York, and an ambassador for Exit Us in Utah. Robby Starbuck is another guy. I'm sure you've heard that name before. Robby Starbuck is a U.S. congressional candidate for Tennessee's 5th District and was first known, that's right, give it up for the 5th District a little bit, that's right. You hear that, Robby? He's right there, he's right back there, I'm telling you. He was first known as a filmmaker, directing Oscar-winning actors and some of the biggest music stars in the world. But his family's experience of fleeing Marxism in Cuba has always been his fuel to achieve the American dream. Once he saw that Marxism had come to threaten America with the rise of the socialist far left, he knew he had to stand up and run for office so that he could do his part to ensure America would always be a free country where the American dream was possible. That's why he's running for Congress in 2022 in District 5. Robby has been endorsed by, listen to this, Senator Rand Paul, Congressman Madison Cawthorn, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Rudy Giuliani, President Trump. This list is too long to read. We got to get them up on stage. Welcome right now, both the Starbucks. Here we are.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Look at you guys. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sight. This is America right now. You know, I hope everybody, by the way, is praying for Glenn Youngkin in Virginia right now. Is everybody on the same page there? Everybody's praying for him? That is a big race. Let me tell you, that race is going to determine a lot of things that happen in this coming year. And they could be bad things, they could be great things, so keep your fingers crossed. Because if this is a fair election, he's not just going to win, he's going to win by a margin that is really impressive. I want to start tonight by asking you guys a question. Are you guys happy with the state of our country? Do you feel like your children are on a path where they are going to be able to live as free men and free women when they grow up? Let me tell you why that matters so much to me. Like he said when he read my bio, my family fled Cuba. They fled that communism that ripped freedom away from them. And so embedded in my DNA is that fight, that eagle-eyed, necessary outlook where you're always looking for any little mark that tells you there's a little sign that Marxism's slipping in. And we saw those signs. My wife, Landon, and I, we have been shouting from the rooftops for years now, warning people about what's coming. And now it's here. It no longer is this quiet, subtle thing. It's in your face. It's overt. It's ever present in the changing of our language, the way that our businesses run, the rights that our government feels they can steal from us. If you look out in Cuba right now, what you will see and what you've seen this year is a group of people who are in the streets crying out for freedom. And as they do it, they wave not the Cuban flag, not the Chinese flag. They wave our flag. They wave the American flag. Because that flag still means something to them. And I hope it means something to you in the same way it does to them. Because that flag, it's not just fabric. It's a reminder of everybody who was given everything for us to be free. And those people in those streets, they are telling us we are willing to die for freedom. We're willing to lay it all on the line. They go out there knowing that they risk death or imprisonment every time that they set foot on that ground and they speak out against a tyrannical government. They know what the price is. People very close to me know what that price is, and they've paid it. And so I ask myself all the time, what am I willing to give? I'm willing to give everything because that's the trajectory that we're on in the long term. Turning into a Cuba or a China. But in the short term, what else could we turn into? We see it in a place like Virginia right now in Loudoun County. What they're doing there, gaslighting parents, ripping away parental rights, acting as if the government is your child's parent. That's where we're headed. We're headed towards the lunacy that we see in a place like California. That's what we're going to get if we don't stand up now, because let me tell you, one of the most dangerous things about having freedom for so long is that a lot of people have forgotten what it feels like or have never felt what it feels like not to have it. That apathy is deadly. It's a poison. And it's ever present right now. And it's our job, our duty, every single one of us, to wake people up.
Have you noticed that there's been a war on our children? We just got back from the border a few weeks ago, and I can tell you that was such a horrific reality to experience. But the reality is, they've declared war on our children for their minds, for their identity, for their future. And we are the only line of defense to stop it, because there's nobody coming to save the day. There's nobody coming. I wish I could say there's some incredible organization that's going to swoop in and cite all these people for what they're doing to our children, but there is not. And something that we have to understand is that there is an agenda. We know that there's an agenda to sexualize children. We know that there's an agenda to degenderize children. We know about all of these, but that is not the end goal. That is a mechanism for them to take away our parental rights and to destabilize the nuclear family. These are globalist agendas, globalist goals. And so their attempt to destroy our values, our conservative values, our Christian values, our traditional values, is really just an assault on the nuclear family, to divide the family against itself. Because if we are weak, if we are divided, we can't stand against their agenda. It's that simple. So this globalist agenda of what they're doing to children and what we've seen play out, all the horrific things happening, you know, they like to put it in little acronyms, CSE, DEI, CRT, all of these little things to distract us. But the bigger plan here is to assault the parental rights. This comes from the World Health Organization, the Global Economic Forum, the UN, United Nations Population Fund, Planned Parenthood Federation, even UNICEF. Do you remember when we used to take our kids trick-or-treating for UNICEF? Yeah, that's all over, because these organizations are globalist organizations that want to destroy our children's future and rob their innocence and their childhood from them. And one way they're going to do that is assaulting the parental right. Now, this might happen in a way that we don't anticipate. And what I mean by that is there is a child sexual rights agenda, but also just a child rights agenda, and they're separate. And they're going to use one as a guise to get the other one through, or they'll just try to see what sticks in what area. We already know that parental rights are being assaulted in California, and they've all but eliminated any right to opt out of any curriculum. They're going to do that with homeschooling. They're going to do that with any other church schools, especially if they were to pass something horrific like the Equality Act. Leigh was mentioning their little names. These are just linguistic manipulations to keep us just completely complacent, not understanding the real dark agenda underneath all of these things. But what they're going to do is they believe that children should have autonomous rights. And they're trying to divide our own children against parents and take the government out of the equation so that the house divided against itself will fall. But we know a house divided against itself cannot fall with God, and that is the difference. And what we're going to do is we're going to be equipped with what we have on our side, which is a godly intuition, a godly discernment of how we're going to deal with these globalists and how we are going to reject all of these frameworks. We're not going to pick and choose, because let me tell you, this agenda is never ending. It doesn't stop with the mask. It doesn't stop with the vaccine. It doesn't stop with the CRT. It doesn't stop with the comprehensive sexuality education. It doesn't stop. These people will never stop. So please know that now, and we are going to stop capitulating, complying, and being part of this evil system. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow God to step in and strengthen our families, and we're going to raise warrior children.
Woo! Yes, we are. Warrior children. Warrior children. We mean that very literally. If you're raising warrior children, that means that there is a war to fight. So what is the war? What are we fighting for? Again, I go back to that first word that I brought up, freedom. That's our responsibility. That's our duty. You know, right now, society is engineered, and it has engineered you, your fellow countrymen, your children, into the idea that silence is the safest option, that you should be silent for your own good. That's what society at every level of government has tried to perpetuate upon you. In conjunction with entertainment and media at large, they have pushed this idea through every segment of culture imaginable. Why have they done that? Because they're afraid of your voice. They know how powerful it is. That's the reason they want you silent. That's the reason they need you silent. You know, the Athenian lawmaker, Solon, if any of you guys have never heard of him, I forgive you. It's kind of obscure reference. He actually decreed that it was illegal for any citizen of Athens to shrink from their responsibility to engage in controversy. Think about that. It was so important to them, to the upholding of their republic, that it was a crime for you to hide out and not engage in the hard issues of the day and use your voice. That's how important it was to them. You know, George Orwell once said that the best way to define freedom was your ability to say no. No is a powerful word. It feels like over the last 2 years, no is a word they've tried to take away from us. But we're going to use that word. We're going to say no to the people who want to control us. We're going to say no to the school systems who want to go and indoctrinate our children. We're going to say no to every lever of government that wants to tell us when we can work, where we can work, if we can open our doors, if we can't open our doors, if we have to wear a mask inside, if we have to wear one outside, if we have to be vaccinated or not. It doesn't matter. We say no because we have the right to say no. But just as important as saying no, and Orwell missed this, is saying yes. Freedom's not all cost. I've already asked you guys to go home and look in the mirror and ask yourself that question. What cost are you seriously willing to pay for freedom? But the other question is, what are you willing to gain? Because in this new era that we enter, as these divisions fragment and we find our way and we fight for a new paradigm of freedom, we face opportunity. When we say to each other, we won't give money to people who hate us anymore, we mean that. We're not giving money to these corporate oligarchs who have fought against our children, against our values, and against our families at every turn. That means when you ask that question of what you're willing to give, you need to have some serious conversations with yourself, because there's some things that are the easiest things, like canceling Netflix, okay? It's really not that big of a deal. These people, if you looked at how much money they have invested in destroying your values, you would have no question about getting rid of it. No question at all. And putting that into something else that is good for your community, good for your children, good for your family. These are the littlest of things. So what are you going to gain? What business are you going to start? Because there is opportunity in front of us for parallels in every segment of the economy to serve people who want to be free. You know, this is all why I'm running for office. Every little bit of this, our children, my family's lineage in Cuba, the attacks on freedom now. But I can't do it alone. I'm not the only person running for office, and I certainly can't be with this ideology and expect to win. We need people to also have that same conversation in the mirror, asking themselves, am I the one that's supposed to run for local office? There'll be detractors who tell you you're not prepared or you're not qualified, this and that and the other, but that is exactly what has allowed narcissistic people to take over every segment of local government throughout the country and destroy everything we know and love. So you know what? At this point, I'm not as concerned about qualified. I'm more concerned with, do you love this country? So I want you to ask that serious question, because if you want to defend freedom, the best way to do it is to defend this little pocket of freedom right here, Williamson County. Make this an example, and let me tell you something. When we did the school board, how many of you guys were at the school board meeting in Williamson County? A lot of you guys, the big one, okay? Let me tell you guys, okay, aside from all the craziness, all the lies there were about that rally, it was a beautiful thing. The number of parents who showed up to have their voices heard. I got letters, messages, emails, thousands all over the country from counties you've never heard of, some I can't even pronounce. Okay? You guys inspired them. It wasn't me. It wasn't like I had this great, amazing speech that just like fired everybody. It was you guys. It was them seeing the people show up, you protecting your pocket of freedom. So we're asking you today, to go and move forward and continue to protect that pocket of freedom, because this is what is going to save Williamson County, and by proxy, as we inspire others, we inspire other pockets all over the country. This is what is going to save America.
A community is only as strong as the families that are in it. And I'm so proud to be in Williamson County because the parents here, the families here are the strongest I've ever seen in America. And we have a unique responsibility to be a beacon of freedom, of family values, of faith-based community for the rest of the United States because, again, there's nobody else doing it. And what we did in that day together was really unique because it set a precedent. Other people saw it and said, I can do this. And then we've seen other counties and people contacting us and saying, how do you do this? You just show up. You just care. You just take one step in front of the other. And that is what we're doing. And I'm so excited that this Williamson Families PAC is coming together based on families and bringing together our values, because we will have representatives finally that represent our values. It's not going to be a bait and switch. It's not going to be some politician that is completely disconnected from reality and serving other, alliances and allegiances. We will have people in office that reflect our values and that will preserve freedom, not just for our generation, but for the generations to come. This is how we have to do it from now going forward. There's a lot of people moving here, right? And I'll be the first one to say some of the, people moving into the state are some of the fiercest freedom fighters. But there's also some other people moving here. And it is our responsibility to create a healthy opposition. And what I mean by that is a culture that is not silent about our wonderful values, about our freedoms, our faith, our family. We will not apologize. We will not apologize for affirming our daughter as a girl or our son as a boy. We do not ask permission from educators, from teachers, or the government on how to parent our children, when to parent our children, what goes in our children's bodies, when they're going to be exposed to radical curriculums that they have no business seeing in the first place. We do not co-parent with the government, but furthermore, we will not give our rights back ever again to these people. Ever.
Amen.
So I just want to take this last moment to thank Robin, to thank everybody who has been a warrior for freedom. And, we're just so grateful for every single person that is doing their part. Because if we all do that, this works. This can't just work with Robby. It can't just work with Robin. It can't just work with Moms for Liberty or Freedom. Any of these organizations, we have to work together. Every single one of us is called to do something by God for a time such as this. So please step up into that role. We're waiting for you. We're going to do this together, and we will never allow Williamson County to be a pet project for the left. We will keep Williamson County free and all the wonderful values that we chose to come here for. It will never change.
So we face either great demise or great opportunity. A new paradigm of freedom awaits us if we do the work. Ronald Reagan once said that it was a time for choosing, and I'm here today to tell you that it is a time for choosing again. Are we going to choose freedom for our kids and our grandchildren? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Do y'all see what I'm saying now? You see how blessed we are in Middle Tennessee, right? See how well-equipped we are to bring this version of conservatism to the rest of the nation? It is poised and ready to strike, I'm telling you. Where's my counterpart out in the audience, by the way? Michael, you're out there?
Great.
Hey, there he is. Michael,
there I am.
Give
right
these
over
people,
here.
Give these people, I don't know where he is.
I'm here. I'm here. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Hey, tonight's been good, hasn't it?
It's been great.
Man, it's been good. I tell you what, it started with the prayer, and then it was like all 500 people doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the national anthem. Are you serious?
Yes.
Wasn't that good? That was good. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. It's worth it. Hey, listen, I'm here to tell you about a little bit of the Williamson family's pack. What we're about in Williamson County is winning elections. And in order to win elections, you've got to knock on doors, you've got to call your neighbors, and you've got to run for office, and you've got to vet candidates. And then you also got to raise money. And it would be a shame tonight if we heard all these incredible speakers and we listened to the great prayer and said the Pledge of Allegiance and we walked out of here and we did nothing. So I want to give you the actions you can take tonight. So you've heard us say it before, but I'm going to keep saying it. Over to my left, your left as well, if you're facing this way, you're going to see all the tables, and you can find your district. If you are interested in running for office, please go over there and put your name down. If you are interested in volunteering to walk precincts for candidates, please go put your name down. If you're interested in making phone calls, in other words, if you're interested in doing exactly what we're talking about tonight, please go over there and put your name down. Last thing, to win elections, and this is just the reality, it takes money. And that's part of what we're doing here tonight. We're raising money to win elections here in Williamson County. So here's how you can do it. Right over to the left, there is a fundraising table. You can see it where the thermometer is. Our goal is $50,000 tonight. So please give. You can grab an envelope here, fill it out, drop a check. I think one of the speakers mentioned cash. We take that too. But if you like to pay with your phone, you can scan one of these cards. You've got them up against the wall. Some of them are on the table. We will pass them out to you. If you raise your hand, we'll give you one of each if you need to get one. But I encourage you, please do not hear these great speakers. Do not hear what we're talking about and not take action tonight. Back to you, Grant.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, y'all ever notice how there's kind of like a conservative vortex of commentators happening in Middle Tennessee right now? Right, those that have this ability for predictive political punditry. It's unparalleled in the Middle Tennessee area, right? You have Ben Shapiro moving his whole crew here. Matt Walsh is here now. Andrew Clavin, I think, is living here as well. We had Tommy Lawrence been here for a while. Candace Owens. I genuinely believe the tip of that spear is a Nashville native, a man named Clay Travis, a towering intellect and an incredible voice for the conservative community. If you don't know Clay Travis, I'm sure you all do, but give me 3 paragraphs here, I'll let you know about this man. Clay Travis is the co-host of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, a 3-hour radio program available on hundreds of radio stations nationwide. Joined by Buck Sexton, the duo broadcast Monday through Friday. Write this down. Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. The legendary time slot held by the Rush Limbaugh Show for more than 3 decades. Each day on the program, Travis and Sexton carry on a new form of broadcast excellence in the tradition of the late radio as icon as they tackle the biggest stories in news, politics, and current events with intelligence and humor. Together, they guide listeners through the latest headlines on hot topics with fun and entertaining conversation. Now, Travis has previously hosted Fox Sports Radio's industry's leading weekly morning drive program, Outkick the Coverage with Clay Travis, which was launched in 2016 to over 350 stations nationwide based in Nashville, Tennessee. He's the founder of the wildly popular Outkick.com, also hosts the top-ranking Outkick the Show webcast, which is streamed live on Facebook. He has millions of fans. He's written multiple books. Clay, do you sleep at any point? I think he sleeps at some point, y'all. He's a graduate of George Washington University as well as Vanderbilt Law School. Travis is married with 3 children and lives here in Williamson County. Please give a resounding welcome to Clay Travis.
It's great to see you guys. I appreciate the invite here, and I appreciate the fight that all of you are putting up across this country. I'm a Nashville native, born and raised. I moved to Williamson County 6 years ago. I have 3 boys, a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old. All of them have gone to local Williamson County schools, and we absolutely love living here. I think that Williamson County is the greatest place on the face of the earth. I really do. And I think to a large extent, it's because of people like y'all who all make it so absolutely fabulous. You know, yesterday or a couple days ago, we had Halloween, right? And I live in West Haven, and have lived there for 6 years. I'm sure a lot of you do too. And Halloween is such an amazing time all over Williamson County for parents. And as I was riding around and walking my kids around and we were trick-or-treating, I couldn't help but think, this really is a perfect approximation of why we all live here and why we've made the choice to raise our families here. And I just, as we were sort of walking around, I started to think, and I spend a lot of time on this now. I'm 42, and I know a lot of you are around my age, and you start to pivot towards thinking about what the world is going to be like for your kids instead of what the world is like for you. And that sort of revelation happens for everybody at a different age, and you start to think, you know, everything isn't about me anymore. It's about what we might be leaving behind. And it's such an important revelation that you have, and you can't really prepare for it because you spend a lot of time in your teenage years where everything's all about you, and then your 20s and your 30s. But once you start to have kids, you really start to look around and wonder, what world are we leaving them, and what lessons are we providing for them? And I talked at the Williamson County School Board a couple of months ago for 1 minute as a parent. Some of you may have seen that. And I know a lot of you were there as well. And as soon as I left that night, I called my radio show co-host, Buck Sexton, and I said, something special is happening in this country. And I know we got criticized because one 30-second video goes viral and Joe Biden talks about it 3 or 4 different times. It's amazing that he can even remember it based on the way most of his public availabilities go now. But I left there and I called Buck, and some of you may have heard me talking about it on the radio the next day. I said, this is how we win. This is how we win. Because like a lot of you, I paid attention to who I voted for governor. I may have paid attention to who I voted for mayor, congressman, senate, governor. I never, ever thought about who I voted for a school board election in my entire life. And I know that was a flaw now, right? I know that not being as engaged as a parent allowed what has happened over the last 18 months to happen. And what I saw on that night was parents saying, we aren't going to allow this to happen anymore. And I know that a lot of you were there, and I know that you saw all the media coverage of it, and they tried to make everybody look like we're a bunch of ignorant, redneck, pickup driving Trump bumpkins. And what I said, some of you may be, that's all right. I grew up in Nashville, trust me. But what I said on the radio was, and this is what you've also seen in Loudoun County, these are the most educated people in the state. These are people who are looking at the data. These are people who actually care about the real science. And these are people who are willing to stand up for their children and say no when it comes to ridiculous, absurd anti-science mask mandates on 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds. I asked my kids before I went and spoke. Some people came after me. They're like, Clay Travis doesn't put his kid in public schools. Yes, I do. I am a public school kid, Nashville, Tennessee, K through 12. I know what it's like to not have a ton of resources at a school. I know what it's like if people don't stand up for you. The biggest failure of all of this COVID insanity has been that the poorest kids out there got the least support. And everybody claims they care about equity and equality. How many people were out there fighting for poor 5-year-olds in Nashville who lost a year and a half of school, don't have Wi-Fi at home, don't have laptops, and will take forever to catch up with what they lost? In Virginia right now, do you know that Terry McAuliffe's closing argument featured Randy freaking Weingarten, who defended teachers not going to school for a year and a half? That's what he thinks. Do you know what he said was a criticism? He said, if Glenn Youngkin wins in Virginia, kids aren't going to have to wear masks, and there's not going to be a COVID vaccine mandate. And I said, hallelujah, I hope he wins. That's how out of touch people like Terry McAuliffe on the far left wing have become. They want to teach all of your kids that their birth color is their destiny. That is a fundamental, antithetical belief in everything that America represents. We believe that whether you are born on third base with billions of dollars in assets or whether you're the poorest kid in America, you can rise to become the President of the United States. And we believe in individual excellence and the meritocracy, whether you are white, black, Asian, and Hispanic. The best man or woman should win. And oh, by the way, there's only men and women. There ain't additional genders. And just because you want to be a different gender doesn't mean that I have to change the pronouns that I use to address you. I wanted to come out and tell you an update on the Virginia election. Some of you may be checking it out. I see you can hold up your phones. I'm looking right now. We got to find out whether there's any burst pipes that might suddenly happen in Northern Virginia. You know, Arlington, they haven't had running water for 40 years in Arlington. All of a sudden, who knows what might happen. But right now, 40% of the vote is reported, and Glenn Youngkin has a 10 percentage point lead. Now, it's still early. I went to bed and Donald Trump was winning in Wisconsin. I wasn't sleeping that well, and about 2 hours later, I rolled over in the middle of the night, and suddenly things had flipped. So, I know a lot of you had that experience too. But I think what's happening is people all over this country are fed up. And that's what I told Buck that night after that parents' meeting. I said, I have been waiting so long for people to get as fed up as I am. And I know all of you have felt the same way. And so when I saw all of those people lined up who weren't even able to get into that school board meeting, I said, finally, people are going to start throwing punches back. And I don't mean real punches, by the way, because Clay Travis went and told everybody to throw punches. No, metaphorical punches. And what you need to see is what is happening now. Absolute grassroots activism to take back this country. Because there are a lot of people out there that believe that America is an awful place. They really do. And they want to destroy this country. And it fires me up so much when I see athletes, because guys know I came out of the world of sports, born and raised here. Wish the University of Tennessee were better, by the way. I walk my boys to school every morning, and yesterday when the news came out about Derrick Henry's broken foot, I was like, oh, do I tell my 11-year-old before he goes to school today about Derrick Henry, who is his absolute idol, breaking his foot? And by the way, I also hope the Braves can win tonight. I know a lot of you are paying attention to that. But when I was a kid, we knew we were in a Cold War with Russia. And we knew that we were in a battle over the future of the free world. And we knew that we had to win. And I don't think a lot of people have recognized that we're in that same battle with China. And the difference is, China is so enmeshed in our global economic system that they are punching us in the back of the head every day, and we don't even realize we're in a fight with them because we're squared up throwing punches at each other while we get punched in the back of the head every day by China. They are using American big tech to destroy America from the inside, and most people don't even know. Nobody's going to beat us except we can destroy ourselves. Study history. It's the story of great societies time after time. Many of the most powerful societies you've ever seen destroy themselves from the inside, not from an external threat. And China knows it, and that's why they're trying to play the long game against us. And so when I saw that school board meeting, I said, this is the exact kind of activism that we need to see all over the country. Because look, the 2020 election was a function of total COVID fear absurdity, okay? The rules were changed as to how votes could occur. But for COVID, which arrived at an awfully convenient time, I might say, out of a Chinese lab, by the way, you couldn't say that for a long time. All the evidence supports it coming out of a Chinese lab. Donald Trump would have destroyed Joe Biden. COVID doesn't happen. And the Democrats have failed because their entire policy as a party is predicated on two things: cancel culture and the idea of identity politics. And it effectively boils down to what? Everything is racist. Every single part of America is rotten to its core, according to Democrats. And I am exceedingly hopeful that Glenn Youngkin is going to win in Virginia and that his election is going to send shockwaves out throughout this country. Because Joe Biden won Virginia by 10 percentage points. And right now, one is in quotation marks, right now, Glenn Youngkin has a very good chance to flip Virginia, and the Democrats are terrified. And if he flips Virginia, everything changes tonight, because Loudoun County is Williamson County, and there are a lot of Loudoun counties, and there are a lot of Williamson counties all over this country. And if you can flip a state like Virginia that was a 10-point Biden win, then there are an awful lot of blue states that suddenly become in play, and there are an awful lot of politicians that are going to go back and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe the border being a sieve isn't a good thing. Maybe, just possibly, defund the police is what Clay Travis has been saying, the dumbest single political idea of the 21st century. And that, if you take police out of our communities and don't let them do their jobs, thousands of people who would otherwise be alive get killed. And sadly, do you know who most of those people are? Black, inner city residents. Black lives are supposed to matter, except they don't when it comes to defund the police, because you take away the ability of those people to be protected and everyone to be protected all across our communities. Defund the police had a easily, readily apparent result, and yet Democrats still embraced it. You know what they're saying now? Oh, we didn't mean that kind of defund. Oh, we didn't actually say that. You know, we played the clips of all of them saying it. When I say defund the police, I mean defund all the police. That's what you said. That's what AOC and crew said. And so what I believe is so important is getting back to rational, fired up, but rational analysis of facts. You know, when I got to talk for a minute at the Williamson County School Board, I said, look, masks don't work. They have zero impact. That's what all of the data shows, okay? And I also said, hey, I think it's important. I think one of the worst things you can do as a public figure or as anyone in a position of prominence that gets attention paid to them is try to convince people that their kids are in danger. Because a lot of you are parents and grandparents out there, almost all of you. The thing that I care about the most in the world are my 3 boys and my wife. That's the only people I'm really responsible for. Some would say that's good. People come after me all the time. I know that people come after you guys for voicing your opinions too. And I always say it really doesn't impact me at all, because as long as I'm doing a good job as a dad and as long as I'm doing a good job as a husband, that's really my only responsibilities. And what I have seen when it comes to using fear to try to terrify parents to gain political power disgusts me. From people, I don't know how Dr. Fauci gets out of bed. I really don't. If I was responsible for terrifying as many people in the country unnecessarily who have young children, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the morning. I really wouldn't. The truth of the matter is this, and I just keep hammering this home because you guys are going to go talk to a lot of people, and as we increase the overall marketplace of ideas and people who know all this, we can win battles, right? I wish, trust me, that nobody's child ever died for any reason. I always say, nobody hates death more than me. I am pro-immortality, all right? I wish we were all going to live forever on this earth. I'd like to stay around the same age that I am right now. I'm not awful looking. I'm still able to kind of get out of bed and not ache too much. I'd hang out here for a while. But you know, your kids are under more danger of being murdered 10 to 1 than they are of dying with COVID. This stat blew my mind. How many people do you think know this? I want you guys to spread it. More kids have been shot in Chicago alone this year than have died with COVID. Think about that. One city in America, 100 more kids have been shot in Chicago than have died of COVID in all of 2021. Now, certainly I don't want violence to happen to kids, but if you were a parent and you said, I was going to send my kids to school, but I'm afraid that they're going to be shot and killed walking to school, most people would say that's not a rational fear. If you were a parent, you said, hey, this summer, I'm not going to allow my kids to go anywhere near the lake, the beach, or to the pool because kids drown at a 5-to-1 rate compared to dying with COVID, young kids. Most of you out there would say, well, that's not really a rational fear. You've got to teach your kids how to deal with water. Teach them how to swim. You put arm on them. You do things that make them less dangerous, but you don't run from the water. If you were trying to decide how to get to school and you said, you know what, I'm terrified to drive my kids to school because I'm afraid we might die in a car accident on the way, that would be an irrational fear. If you said, hey, this winter I'm pulling my kids out of school because the seasonal flu is going to spread widely in December and January and February, most of you would look around and say, boy, that seems really irrational. Yet every single one of those things, the seasonal flu, drowning, car accidents, murder, your kids are infinitely more likely to be killed by than COVID. Those are statistical, verifiable facts. No one in my mind, and I'm a public school kid, and I've traveled around a lot all over the country, I've never heard of any school mandating masks for the seasonal flu. Never seen it happen. Never even heard anybody argue for it. Every year, the seasonal flu kills more young children than COVID does. These are all facts. They all matter at a significant level because without reasonable facts, you can't get to good results. Public policy fails. I always used to use an example on my radio show, and I think you guys will appreciate it. I said, hey, if I came out to you before football season started this year, and I said, hey, I don't think Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl this year, a lot of you might agree with me. That's an opinion. But as soon as I said, I don't think Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl this year because Tom Brady has never been able to win a Super Bowl before, well, you might agree with my end result, but you should trust me less because I shared a falsehood with you. And what we need to do is hold our public figures accountable when they share lies with us. And if you see someone sharing a lie, it spreads so quickly on social media. We don't have a media anymore. We got an anecdote-driven culture. One story happens. One 5-year-old dies with COVID, and every single person in here hears about it because it's a tragedy. But it doesn't mean it's likely to happen to your child. We got to stop governing the country based on outlier, anecdotal, not representative samples of what's going on in day-to-day living. And we have to also be intelligent enough to think about the impact that we are sending and setting for our children. When we are convincing them that they are in danger from everyone and have to wear masks, when we are not allowing young children to learn how to speak verbally because they learn how to speak by seeing people's mouths move, when we are not allowing them to interact with each other, not seeing each other as a threat all day long, we are horribly, horribly harming their young adulthood. And when we are insisting that the poorest and least advantaged kids in our entire country are the most likely to be the victim of being unable to be in school. The kids who need free lunch, the kids who need teachers to report if they are not being treated well by their parents, the kids who are most in need of the guidance and the structure and the learning that comes from school, we cut them all off. What is the long-range impact going to be of kids who went 18 months without school? How many kids did we lose who will never go back into school? I spend a lot of time talking to my audience. Say, I can't guarantee that every kid who goes to school is going to be rich. Hard to know who's going to end up rich. But I can tell you this. You will not be poor in America if you graduate from high school. Share this with your kids too, because it's an attainable goal by every single kid, white, black, Asian, Hispanic. If you graduate from high school, if you don't have a kid before the age of 25, and if you get married, your poverty rate in America, regardless of where you start, is 0. Those are 3 things that these are the kind of things that leaders need to be sharing instead of talking about why everybody is a victim perpetually in this country. Control your individual choices and set goals for yourself. And they don't even have to initially be that high of goals. Graduate from high school, don't have a kid before 25, eventually get married. Your chances of being poor are 0 in America today. These are real, tangible goals. We need schools to be instructing our kids in these. And I want to say this, too. As John Rich is backstage, and he's going to come out here in a minute, he's going to entertain you guys, a fantastic guy, super smart. We were talking backstage, and by the way, let me look right now. I want to give you an update on Virginia. 50% reporting. Yeah, 50% reporting. Glenn Youngkin right now has a 12 percentage point lead. And Republicans are also winning the lieutenant governor's race and the attorney general race. For those of you, again, we're halfway through. It's like a halftime score. And as a University of Tennessee fan, a lot of us know halftime scores don't always translate into in-game results. That's a very strong move, all right? And this is all directly spiraling out of schools, schools, schools. Loudoun County became a battleground for anti-mask, for the truth over falsehood, for parents finally being fed up. And the lesson that I think all of us need to take from that is it's easy to sit back. I talk to people all the time. The reason why I couldn't say no to the opportunity to take over the Rush Limbaugh time slot, the biggest radio show, the golden microphone, the reason why I couldn't say no, I'd had a lot of success in sports talk radio. Started off doing 104.5 The Zone. Some of you may listen to me here, the local Nashville sports talk. Then started doing national sports talk. We were killing it. Last year, March, April, May, June, there's no sports going on anywhere in the country because the idiots shut down the entire country. I always said lockdowns, insanely stupid idea. Our ratings skyrocketed. There's not a single thing going on in the world of sports. Why? Because I was one of the people who said we have to find a way to play. We can do it safely. We have to open schools back up. We can't stay locked down forever. The virus is not going to go away. We cannot allow America to be overtaken by fear. Rates skyrocketed. Rush died, obviously, unfortunately, in February of this year. Most talented radio person ever to sit in front of a microphone anywhere. And the most fearless. And as I had to make a decision, talked a lot with my wife about what to do. Did I want to stay in sports, or did I want to take over the golden microphone, the responsibilities, the obligations of talking to the biggest audience in radio? I circled back around to the thing that I started talking about you guys with. At some point, you decide that you matter far less than the legacy that you're going to leave behind. And everybody makes that decision at a different age. But as I'm looking at my kids and I'm looking at the country, I said, we have to fight back. And for me, taking over that radio show was about giving an opportunity to fight back to the biggest possible audience out there and not leaving behind the arguments that Rush himself would be making if he were still here today. And so why I was so gratified and why I'm so humbled and why I'm so honored is, some of you may know this, I also still do a lot of sports. We're on a bus tour right now. I'm headed down to LSU, Alabama this weekend. We got a bus tour. I've been going to the biggest SEC football game every weekend all fall, in addition to everything else I'm doing. They're going to need it. They're 29-point underdogs, buddy. And they ain't even got a coach. But the number one thing that I hear from people, and I love being out and about. By the way, it's pretty funny. I was at Florida, Georgia this weekend, flying over the Florida-Georgia game, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Let's Go Brandon banner. Flying over Game 5, Atlanta Braves, Houston Astros, Let's Go Brandon banner. Which is evidently now the equivalent of Sig Heil, according to CNN analysts. Really, they said that. Number one thing that I hear, the number one thing that I hear is, you say the things that I wish I could say every single day. There is a palpable fear in America today of being canceled for saying what you truly believe. People are terrified to get on Facebook and say what they believe. Twitter, Instagram, whatever it might be, if it's not you, you're terrified that one of your kids is going to get canceled or one of your grandkids. And what I loved about what I saw in Williamson County is finally enough people said, I am going to speak out. And if enough of us speak out and share the truth and fight the battles that matter the most, they can't cancel us all. And what you're seeing is the cancel culture is turning on itself. I don't know how many of you paid attention to the Dave Chappelle comedy special. Tried to cancel him. I don't know how many of you are paying attention to what's going on right now, negotiation-wise, with the budget. They're trying to cancel Joe Manchin. They followed Kirsten Sinema. These are Democratic senators. They followed her into the bathroom and continued to record and berate her while she was in the bathroom. The woke ideology is a revolution that is going to destroy itself. But what it requires in order to destroy itself is people standing up and saying no more. And that is why the Let's Go Brandon chant to me is so perfect. Because what it does is illuminate and ridicule the absurdity of for those of you who don't know, the Let's Go Brandon thing came out of a NASCAR race. Guy named Brandon won the NASCAR race. And as he was being interviewed live on NBC, the reporter there is standing beside him saying, oh, look, they're so excited for you. They're chanting, Let's Go Brandon, when they were actually chanting down at Talladega in Alabama at the NASCAR track, F Joe Biden. It represented a crystallization of direct lies being told by the media, a direct contravention of everything that you saw with your own eyes. And people finally, I believe, with Let's Go Brandon, are ridiculing the absurdity of the Biden administration. His support is collapsing. I believe Virginia is going to send a massive message that is going to be followed throughout this country. There is going to be a red tide in 2022. The Democrats are running scared. And then with the right nominee in 2024, we are going to get a monster landslide of a presidential win as well, because 2020 was an aberration. And the lessons that the Democrats took from it is we can drag Joe Biden from his basement across the finish line, and we're going to pass the baton to Kamala Harris. And the only thing Joe Biden's got going for him right now is the fact that Kamala Harris is somehow less popular than him. She might be the only politician in America he's more popular than. They were thinking they were just going to shunt Biden off the stage and hand the presidency to her, but somehow she's even worse than he is. So that's the only asset he's got going for him right now. I appreciate all of you. God bless. Thank you for standing up for your kids, for standing up for the state, for standing up for Williamson County, and for standing up for your country. I love all of you. I hope you have a fantastic night. John Rich coming up next. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
I feel so bad, by the way, about letting that happen right now. Please don't let that be a mark of my chivalry, okay? They told me somebody had to continue the show. Can we give a round of applause, by the way, for all the volunteers that are making this happen tonight? And give a round of applause for the AV guys in the back here, the lighting people, the audio crew, everybody else. This is a production, I'm telling you, it's a production. This next person, by the way, needs no introduction at all, but I'm going to do it anyway. Armed with confidence, ambition, and determination, John Rich is a multi-platinum hit generator, music industry leader whose creative talents are matched only by his business savvy. Whether through a raucous party anthem or a sober reflection on hard times in the heartland, Rich's ability to capture the American zeitgeist in song has made him one of the most successful and prolific entertainers in the music business today. And in 2011, Rich impressed Donald Trump and American television audiences with his business acumen and leadership skills, winning NBC's Celebrity Apprentice and raising $1.5 million for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. That alone. Now, the multifaceted Rich is applying his talents to his latest venture, a lifestyle brand called Redneck Riviera. I was just talking to him backstage about this. Launched in 2014 with an apparel line geared to what he dubs the red, white, blue, and rowdy crowd. I think that's y'all. The idea struck Rich after visiting the stretch of Gulf Coast affectionately known in the same name, and in 6 short years, the brand offers apparel, a boot line, a bar in the heart of downtown Nashville on Lower Broadway, a jerky line, impressive spirits division that serves up 2 American-made whiskeys, Redneck Riviera Whiskey and Grand Rich Reserve, offered nationwide. In addition to the spirits, a specialty drink called Howdy Do is being introduced in the market in 2020. Along with all these successes, Rich finds time to host a uniquely produced internet show called The Pursuit with John Rich on a Fox Business Prime each Wednesday at 8 p.m. Rich's musical resume includes serving as a co-leader vocal for the multiple platinum-selling country act Lone Star, half of the groundbreaking country duo Big and Rich. He is a 3-time ASCAP Songwriter of the Year, notching over 14 top 10 hits for artists like Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, Gretchen Wilson, Jason Aldean, Taylor Swift, and Big Rich. Again, a man that needs no introduction, but he will entertain us tonight. John Rich, are you back here, sir? Let's bring him on. I think he's getting mic'd up right now. Let's vamp a little. Stand up. Let him know how you're doing. This energy right here, I'm telling you, if I could bottle what you are doing and sell it. Here he is.
Good evening. Where's my sound guy at? We got a cable up here I can plug this guitar in with? Cable. It's good to be with all the Patriots tonight in Tennessee. A safe space for Patriots. Oh, Clay, he's something else, isn't he? Fireball. I'm honored to be here, to be asked to be here. This is not a place I would think I would ever be. But let's be honest, our country is in a place we never thought she'd be either. Right? And that calls for stepping into places you wouldn't normally step into because we have to. It's time to do it. Yep. Oh, that is short. I tell you what.
A longer one?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him for a minute. I tell you what. In the back, if you go back there and look at my guitar case, you'll see a cable. Because I'm a musician, guys. I always prepare. That's my spare tire guitar. So you see it says 11010. You see that on that neck? It says 11010 Cash. You see that? Well, my first son's name is Cash because first of all, Johnny Cash is my favorite of all time. But I could not resist the wordplay of Cash Rich, ladies, because I set him up for his whole life. But the 11010 is his birthday, January 10th, 2010, right? So 11010 Cash. Almost looks like code. That probably means something to some egghead out in California, but I don't know. To me, it means the future. That's the future right there. That's my boy. There we go. Thank you, sir. You didn't think you'd be doing a guitar tech work, did you? I'm honored. Let's go. Oh, let's see what happens. Hey, I hear it. Do we have any Johnny Cash fans out there, perhaps? Give me some guitar, son. Well, love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Well, bound by a wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. Y'all sing it with me. Say I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire, the ring of fire. Y'all sing the trumpet part. Say da 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 da. Say da 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 da. Well, the taste of love is sweet when hearts like ours meet. Well, I fell for you like a child. Oh, and the fire went wild. Y'all sing it with me. Say I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, burns, burns. Ring of fire, ring of fire. Yes, and it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire, ring of fire. Y'all sing the trumpet part. Say da 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 da. Say da 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 da. One more time. Say da 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 da. Let me hear you, country people. Da 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 da. Put your hands together for Johnny Cash and sing it along. I want to thank Robin Steeman for inviting me to be here. She is, she's something else. The reason I'm here is because she was at a little event that I was also at, and there was a bunch of high-powered politicians here in Nashville at this little fundraiser, and they were all talking like politicians. And then they gave me the mic. I started talking like we talk, you know? Yeah. You know, like the first thing I did is look at all the politicians. I say, why do y'all keep talking like politicians? None of us believe you when you talk like that. We don't, you know. First of all, I also said this, and Robin's just hearing this whole thing. I didn't know her when I was up on the mic. I knew her when I got off the mic because she walked up to me and said, wow, that was great. I said, anybody that is a career politician must have a mental disorder. Because who in their right mind wants to hang out with those people for their whole life? I mean, really? That's what you're doing with your life. 32 years in the Congress or whatever. John Adams said, the only people that should run for politics are people who detest politics. You should hate it. It's worth hating. You should hate it. And if you ever decide to step in, it's just so you can make a difference, try to fix something, and then get the hell out of there and let somebody else come in and put their skill set to work, and they can pick up where you left off. I mean, that's the history of our country, right? George Washington did not want to be the President of the United States. He didn't want that. Everybody's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And he's going, I don't want to do it. You got to do it. No. Well, at some point he went, fine, if nobody else is going to do it, I'll step forward. If not me, who? And if not now, when, right? So he stepped in and he did it. This country has gone off the rails because it's our fault. It's our fault. We're sitting in this room right now all pissed off about what we see going on in this country, in this state, in our county. It's our fault. It's my fault, your fault, our fault. Because we've been inheriting freedom for decades. Freedom itself has not actually been at risk, at real risk, since World War II. Not since World War II, when the greatest generation stepped up and beat Hitler and Japan and Mussolini all at the same time to save our freedom. So for all these decades, we've been coming along, generation after generation, and freedom has never actually been at risk for any of us until now. So all these years, the bad guys are out there, and they're going, yeah, one of these days, just let them keep going to sleep. You guys just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. Have a nice nap. We're going to sit back here in the back room, and we're going to weave together something and surround y'all with it. We're going to get the biggest companies and politicians and foreign countries and, oh, tech, wow, that's great. Yeah, the internet's here, perfect. Let's tie that in for sure. And they start getting together in their back rooms and having cocktails and cigars, talking about how they're going to rout America. They're going to transform it. You ever bought an old farmhouse? You know, you buy a farmhouse, you're like, yeah, that thing's pretty run down. I'm going to fix it up, right? I'm going to remodel the farmhouse. Have you ever said, you know what, Granddaddy, we just bought this old farmhouse. We're going to transform it for you. Well, that would mean probably knock it down and build something new, right? No, we don't transform the farmhouse. You fix the farmhouse. They want to transform America. When's the first time you ever heard somebody say that on a microphone? Obama. Remember, he was standing in front of it looked like the Greek pillars of old, you know, the Olympics, the old Greek temple, and he's standing out there in that stadium. We're going to transform America. And we all went, he can't transform America. Oh, really? Why are we sitting in this room right now? They've been sitting around figuring this out for many, many, many decades, and we have been asleep at the wheel, which is one of my favorite country bands, and I should play one of their songs. But we're going to fix this. That's what we're doing here tonight. Give me a little more guitar, please, sir. I've played Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy so many times I can't hear a damn thing anymore. Should I play that song tonight before I go? I mean, got to, right? I have to play that one. So I had the very distinct honor. Honestly, if I was going to count up the biggest things ever happened to me, I don't know what's bigger than this. Outside of my personal life, this has got to be one of the biggest things ever. I got to interview Charlie Daniels 19 days before he died. Do you love Charlie Daniels in this room? Yeah, you can clap for Charlie. Come on. And I remember I got through interviewing him on my little show called The Pursuit, about the pursuit of happiness. And we got through interviewing, and we went. He said, "Come over and let me show you this big stud horse I just bought." I said, "Okay." He's bragging a little bit. Got this big old black horse. And he's leaning on the fence rail, chomping on his gum. Chomping. He looks at me and he goes, "You know what, John boy, I ain't going to be around forever." I said, "Hell, I bet you'll hit 100. He goes, "Well, I might, but in any case, other people are going to have to grab this thing and run with it, you know. They're going to have to grab it at some point and run with it. I ain't going to be around forever." And then he was 19 days. He was off to heaven with his golden fiddle, playing it up there on the streets, you know. Can you imagine that jam session? Well, I took that to heart, and I left that interview in 2020 in the middle of the shutdowns and all that other stuff, and I went, he's got the absolute point. Who is going to do it? Charlie Daniels is gone. What did you love about Charlie Daniels so much? And he just said it. And you're looking at it, he's like country music's papaw standing up there like, what are you going to do about it? Go pick a switch. I'll whip your ass with it. I mean, what are you going to do to Charlie Daniels? Nothing. I'm going to sing a Charlie Daniels song for you. People say I'm no good, crazy as a loon. I get up in the morning, get down in the afternoon. I kinda like my old blue tick hound. I like her laying round in the shade. And I ain't got no money, way, but I damn sure got it made. And I ain't asking nobody for nothing if I can't get it on my own. If you don't like the way I'm living, sing it. Just leave this long-haired country boy alone. Hey! A poor girl wants to marry and a rich girl wants to flirt. A rich man goes to college and a poor man goes to work. A drunkard wants another drink of wine and a politician wants a vote. I don't want much of nothing at all, but I will take another smoke. And I ain't asking nobody for nothing if I can't get it on my own. Hey, if you don't like the way I'm living, help me and just leave this long-haired country boy alone. Preacher man talking on the TV, putting down a rock and roll. Wants me to make a donation, cause he's worried about my soul. Said, now Jesus walked on the water, and I know that is true. Sometimes I think that preacher man might do a little walking too. And I ain't asking nobody for nothing if I can't get it on my own. Hey, if you don't like the way I'm living, just leave this long-haired country boy alone. Hey, if you don't like the way I'm living, let me hear you. Just leave this long-haired country boy alone. Hey! God bless Charlie Daniels. I think about the greatest generation. Why we call them that? They saved the world, right? You know, all the young men went off to fight, and all the women and kids went into the factories. I remember my Granny Rich telling me stories. She was 10 when it broke out. And she said, oh, yeah, every day we're heading to school. And they tell all the school kids that if you saw any scrap metal laying out in the ditches, grab it and drag it to the schoolhouse. She said, so I remember one day me and a couple of girls walking to school and found an old bumper from some old truck. And we just started dragging it and dragging. We were late to school, but we drug in this big old bumper. And they're like, good job, girls. Sit down. It's time for school. The whole country. Listen, they had political differences back then, too. We've always had that since the very beginning. But when World War II broke out, that all went away. They stopped making cars and started making tanks and airplanes and bullets and rifles. And all the kids were dragging scrap metal. And all the women were in the factories doing whatever they could do. And without that effort, without America realizing that, hey, our differences down here are now being superseded by Pearl Harbor and Hitler and Mussolini, if they had not realized that, what would have happened? Lord only, don't want to think about it. Don't want to think about it. Can you imagine the world in 2021 if America had never been founded? What would it look like? Probably just one giant dictatorship, honestly. That's probably what it would have been. Well, I don't know. They would have never come up with stuff like the light bulb, so that would have set them back a little ways. Or country music, or the automobile, or anything else that's ever good happened in the world for the most part, came from who? America is where it came from. We don't have the right to be happy in America. Nowhere does it say we have the right to be happy, the right to be successful, the right to be popular, the right to be liked, the right to be comfortable. It says you have the right to pursue those things. You have the right to go chase them down. The word pursuit in its very essence means it's a moving target. You got to run after it. It's not going, hello, I'm success, come get me. I'll just be sitting here waiting. That's not how it works. You got to chase it down, and you may never get it. But we have the right to go pursue it. That's why there's lines coming into the country, and last time I checked, there ain't no lines going out. There ain't no lines leaving this place. Everybody wants a chance to exhaust their potential, to be all they can be, to chase down what they call the American dream. The word dream is not associated with any other country in the world except America. You ever heard of the Mexican dream? Canadian dream, the Russian dream, the British dream, the French dream? There's a reason for that. We're the only country that says the possibilities are limitless. And if we're created in God's image, which is what the Bible says, and God is limitless, and He created us in His image, shouldn't we also live as if we're limitless? Huh? So to that point, anybody that tries to limit you is going against the will of God Almighty Himself. That's why it says it in the Declaration of Independence, our inalienable rights. I heard her talking earlier. She said, yeah, those rights aren't given to us by man or by the government. They're given to us by God Himself, meaning man can never step over that line. But they're sure stepping over it today, aren't they? They're stepping over it in a big way. You know why they're stepping over it? Because they don't even believe God exists. They put Him right up there with Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, to their own detriment. You need to pray for all those people that they get saved before their heart stops beating one day. You really do. It could happen. Hey, thief on the cross, man. Thief on the cross. He was being crucified for something terrible. He went to heaven. It could happen. We found ourselves in this room because we just thought it was a given that schools and teachers and principals had our kids' best interests at heart, right? That's what they dedicated their lives to do. Teach our kids, look after our kids. If there was one good thing that came from COVID, it was that all of our kids got sent back home to do their virtual learning, which sucks, by the way. You can't learn like that, as you know. But we're now over their shoulders, looking in there. We don't want to be in the screen, right? But you're looking over their shoulder, right? And you go, hang on a minute. What did she just say? Wait, what? Huh? I'm sorry, what are you reading right now? What is this book? Wait a second. Right? And the flares start going off. You're like, whoa, 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 hang on. How long have you been learning this? Oh, come to find out, they've been teaching this stuff for decades to America's youth. And I thought about that. Well, why are they doing that? I mean, there's several reasons, but I think one of the biggest reasons, if you're a communist, why you would teach kids stuff like that, is because you want to de-incentivize them to ever think that their country's great enough to fight and die for. If you can make these kids believe that America is evil and America is nasty and America deserves what's coming to it, and a real war breaks out like it did back in the early 40s, you think they're going to sign up? They're going to think, well, why would I go die for a country as evil as America? That's how these people think. It's pretty smart if you're a bad guy. They're smart, by the way. They're smart. So now we find ourselves at this crossroad where they're brainwashing our kids. And in some instances, they're putting stuff in these libraries, as you guys are coming across, that is straight up porn. You guys run across these books? Why aren't they in jail? I saw a couple of those books. I'll tell you who I talked to today. So I told you before, I have a high school diploma. I grew up in a trailer in Texas. I am nothing fancy at all. But I think growing up like that, you never had a new lawnmower, you never had a new car, you never had a new pair of shoes. Everything was not quite right, so what do you have to do? Well, you figure out how to fix it, figure out how to make it better, upgrade it, to do the best you can with it. You become problem solvers. And so while these politicians, most of them are running out here trying to save their own hide and win another 2 years, another 6 years, or whatever they're doing. It's now incumbent on we, the people, to get out here and figure out how to fix these problems for ourselves, because they are not going to fix them. They're not going to do it. They're playing both sides of the fence, and we're getting killed over it, and our kids are in harm's way. So as I'm thinking about this nonsense, it's in all these books throughout America, but let's just talk about Tennessee for a minute. What books are in Tennessee? And I start seeing these screenshots coming in and these book titles, and I'm looking them up going, holy cow, if I read that on network television, I would be in violation of all the FCC rules because it's too obscene to read, and the pictures in the book, I could not put that on network TV. They would come get me if I did that. But we can stick it on the desk of our 10 and 11-year-olds in school? Oh, is that right? So what's the difference between a creepy guy in a white van pulling up to the schoolyard at the end of school and reading and discussing pornographic topics with our kids, or a teacher doing it in the classroom? What's the difference in those two things? I'll tell you the difference. They can run away from the guy in the creepy white van. That's the difference. They got arrogant, these bad guys and girls. They got arrogant. They thought we'd stay asleep forever, but we didn't. The alarm clock went off. Now we're awake. Now you got a problem. So I started digging around today, and I thought, I wonder what the Tennessee statutes say about exposing children to obscene material. Would you like to know what it says? It's on the, you can just look it up when you get home. But I brought it. You tell me if they're in violation. It is unlawful for any person to knowingly sell or loan for monetary consideration or otherwise exhibit or make available to a minor any picture, photograph, drawing, sculpture, motion picture, film, video game, computer software game, or similar visual representation or image of a person or portion of the human body that depicts nudity, sexual conduct, excess violence, or sadomasochistic abuse that is harmful to minors, or any book, pamphlet, magazine, printed matter, however reproduced, or sound recording, which contains any matter enumerated in subdivision 1, which is the thing I just read, or that contains explicit and detailed verbal descriptions or narrative accounts of sexual excitement, sexual conduct, excess violence, or sadomasochistic abuse, and that is harmful to minors, is in violation of this statute. That is codified in the Tennessee statutes from 2019. This is law in our state. This is the law. You don't have to debate anybody. This is the law. Next time you find a book like that, you document where you got the book and what school had the book, and you go down to the magistrate or the judge, you get a warrant, and you go back to that school, and you put a pair of handcuffs on them. Now you want to hear how they're skirting it, because you need to know how they think they're getting around this. You want to hear that part? So today I called the Speaker of the House in Tennessee, Mr. Sexton. I called his office, and they called back. Called the governor's office, and they called back. And I said, I'm going to give y'all a chance to do the right thing, but it's going to be quick. And if you don't strengthen the language and enforce these laws, I'm going to make it national news that Tennessee ain't backing up its own statutes and protecting our kids. So they said, we would love to have a meeting with you. How's next week? Sounds good. Here's how they get around it. Here's how these teachers and districts and principals or whatever, here's how they're getting around it right now. They think they're getting around it. But here's what they're using. This is the other part. It is an exception to this section that the obscene material is possessed by a person having scientific, educational, governmental, or other similar justification. Who wrote that? Justification for showing our kids stuff like that. I'm sorry, there's a justification. So the teachers and the principals are saying, well, we're covered under that little thing because it's educational. You know what? I'd like to drag you into a court and let's find out if it's educational or if it's pedophilic. Let's figure out which one it is. Let's let a jury decide. You are not going to change anything with what's going on right now by yelling at them and screaming at them and whatever and ranting and raving on social media. You're going to change absolutely nothing by doing that. You need to take the law that's already been written and exercise that law, and you need to lean on everybody that we've elected in this state. And if they don't respond the way we need them to and the way that they're supposed to, then we run them out of our state, Republicans included, all of them. Run them out. No loyalty to anybody. So this brings us to this room, right? You guys need a new school board. You need several new school boards. You need new commissioners. You need a whole reboot, right? Yeah. So you think back to the founding fathers, and George Washington did not want to be the president, and hell, Donald Trump did not want to really step out there. He didn't want to do it. I mean, good Lord, look what they did to him. But it's come the time where are we just going to sit around and yell at our TV screens and send out a bunch of Facebook posts and tweets? Think about who's watching us. The kids are watching us. As we've all learned very well, unfortunately, they are listening and watching everything we do, right? Everything. They're watching it all. They know when you yell at the TV. They know when you're talking to your wife or your husband about the last crazy thing that just happened. And they're watching that and they're going, wow, they're really upset about that. I should definitely be against that. Yeah, because mom and dad, they hate that. Wow, that's something else. But then you don't put it into action. You don't step out and take a hit over that. What do you think they're going to be looking at when they're our age? What do you think they could possibly be looking at? God only knows. We're the example that they're looking at. If you're not going to take it for yourself, then do it to set an example for your kids that are coming up next, because if we don't set the example for them that we will take on evil when we see it, we will go out here and take the incoming missiles from the evil side, and we'll have a grin on our face and both fists up and one eye down. Let's go. If they don't see that, then how do we expect our kids to ever stand up and fight this nonsense when it comes their way at some point? They won't. And even if we lose a bunch of these battles, at least you got integrity at the end of the day. At least you can sleep okay at night. And listen, I'm a country music singer, right? So Music Row right out of high school, man. I mean, I went on the road at 18 years old. A van pulling a trailer all over the United States. That little band got signed. It was called Lone Star. It did really well. And then I moved on from there and there and there and Big and Rich and all this stuff happens. And that was my whole life. About 3 years ago, I was the guy yelling at the TV. And my kids are about right here. I'm yelling at the TV. But I'm going, man, I'd sure like to say something about that. But you know what? Radio would kill my single. Or I wouldn't get invited to the award show again and all that stuff. And I thought, well, is my freedom of speech more important to me than the approval of the liberal music industry? Which one is worth more to me? Yeah. I went, well, God, thank you for the career because it's over. So I'm doing it. I told my wife, I said, all right, starting tomorrow, I'm coming out swinging. She goes, what does that mean? I said, you'll see. You'll see. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your Facebook page is about to get absolutely hammered, but here we go. So I started swinging at them, and here they come. Here they come, boy. Music Row, heads of record labels, other artists, John Rich, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'll be honest, I didn't like it. But then I remembered that verse in the New Testament coming out of the mouth of the Son of God himself when he said, I'd rather you be hot or cold, but if you're lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. I'll spit you out. You want Jesus Christ spitting you out of his mouth? I don't. That's probably as close as he ever got to cussing. I bet if you heard it in Hebrew, it's probably a cuss word in there somewhere. You know, Jesus was a redneck. He had to have been. Yeah, carpenter, fisherman. Come on. He's a country boy. The point is, if everybody likes what you're saying, you're not saying it correctly. If everybody likes how you're living, you're not living strongly enough. You should have detractors, especially in 2021, especially in this climate. There ought to be so much hate coming your way. It's a tidal wave of hate. It ought to be constant hate. That is the validation that you are having some impact out here. If there ain't no hate coming your way, then figure out what you need to do to get some hate coming your way. Bring it. They're bullies. They don't know what to do when you stand up and go, oh yeah, make me. They don't know what to do when you do that. They're like, well, we're going to call you a bad name. I go, and? What else you got? And just take it, bam, 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 and it's like a rocky in your gut. You might have a little blood running out your nose. You're like, yeah, I'm still here. And we're about to take your job away from you, so I hope you enjoyed it while you had it. And you come in like an absolute patriot. You do not back up. We do not come from people who backed up from tyranny or evil. Never. Americans were built on the backs of fighters and rebels, rebellious people. Remember where we come from. Remember it. Liberty or death. That was not a hashtag. That was not a bumper sticker. That is the attitude and commitment it took to build this country that we're all fortunate enough to live in right now. And so who are we to say, well, we know what the truth is, and we know we should run for that seat, and we know we should change this out. But, man, my Facebook page, really? Really? That's over. That has to be over. We cannot care about that stuff anymore. It has to be over, and it has to be over right now. We have to start making moves. That's why I'm in this room, because I feel just like y'all feel. My kids ain't even in this county. It doesn't matter. Kids are kids are kids. We got to protect our kids. Can I get an amen on that one time? Do we have any active duty military or veterans that might be in the room? Place your hand. Yes, sir. Yes, yes. Yes, sir. Yes. We'd like to say thank you for your sacrifice and your service to this great country, the United States of America. We wouldn't have a country without you. God bless you. May God bless your families. This is a song I wrote about my granddaddy, Papaw Rich. He was like a 5'2", 115-pound Rambo, this guy. He was the guy that would watch CNN just because he liked it to make him mad. And he had his 45 sitting in the lazy boy with the hammer back and the safety on. He'd just sit there smoking cigarettes. You know that guy, right? You got one of those guys in your family? Well, he's from Glasgow, Kentucky originally. And you know how your granddaddy is. He'll tell you the same story 500 times, like he's never told it before and you've heard it all these times. But it's such a great story, you can't wait to hear it again. You're like, no, I don't know that one. Tell it to me again. He's 17 years old, living in Glasgow, Kentucky. And he says, John, there's this train that rolls through Glasgow. My whole life, that train come through, dropping off, firewood and groceries and whatever. He said, but when the war broke out, the train came through and it was loaded down with caskets. And he said, and in those caskets were my uncles, my cousins, kids I went to school with, kids I farmed with. And I was so mad that I couldn't sign up and fight because I was only 17. He said, I can run, I can jump, I can shoot, put me in. Sorry, Bill, you're only 17. So he had his older sister act like she was his mother and walked him down and signed him up for the U.S. Army at 17 years old. Well, he got in there, and they realized that this guy, he's the kind of guy, if you said, hey, Bill, shoot that squirrel, he'd say, left eye or right eye? 22 short, single shot, right? One of those guys. I mean, cannot miss, because he couldn't miss because he was eating them. He was eating those squirrels. They got him in there, and they realized this guy, he was 5'2", 115 pounds, soaking wet, and literally unafraid of anything and absolutely vicious. All he wanted to do was kill every last person that sent those caskets to his hometown. All of them. He wished he could have killed them all. So they said, wow, we've got a job for you. It's called a tunnel rat. So what those guys did in the Pacific, they would send in a little guy like my granddaddy into a cave with a short-range flamethrower and a grenade belt and a .45, and his job was to flush the Japanese out the other side of the cave. That's a job. He loved it because he was, woohoo, this guy. By the time they let him out and sent him back home, which was a little over 2 years he was in there, this guy had 6 Purple Hearts. 6. They just kept patching him up and sending him back in because there wasn't too many guys that were that small that could go do that job. So he gets back home, hooked on morphine for 2 years, weaned himself off of that, became a farmer, met my Granny Rich, and that's the rest of the story. So when he died, one of my greatest regrets, I should have written this song while he was alive and sung it to him. Wrote this song about a month after he died. I'll dedicate this to all of our vets, to all of our active duty. Dedicate this song to all the boys and girls overseas in harm's way this very second. And finally, I dedicate it to the 13 that never came back from Afghanistan. God bless their families and God bless them. This is called The Man. Well, he was one of the millions who signed up to defend us long ago in 1941. And when they sucker punched us in Pearl Harbor, he fought under MacArthur, 17, with an Army Thompson gun. Well, he stormed a lot of beaches, slept in jungles with the leeches. He saw things a young man should never see. And when they shot him in the shoulder, he got back up and he marched forward. Left a lot of brothers dead and coagulating. And if it wasn't for the good Lord and the man, there wouldn't be a breath of freedom in this land. When I see people on my TV taking shots at Uncle Sam, I hope they always remember why they can. Because we'd all be speaking German or living under the flag of Japan if it wasn't for the good Lord and the man. If it wasn't for the good Lord and the man. Can I get a yee-haw now? Now I'm the grandson of a soldier, and I'd fight the whole world over if duty called and freedom's on the line. But thanks to the greatest generation and the ones still fighting for our nation, I've never had to kill for my way of life. And if it wasn't for the good Lord and the man, there wouldn't be a breath of freedom in this land. When I see people on my TV taking shots at Uncle Sam, I hope they always remember why they can. Because we'd all be speaking German or living under the flag of Japan if it wasn't for the good Lord and the man. If it wasn't for the good Lord and the man. He was one of the millions who signed up to defend us long ago in 1941. And when they sucker punched us in Pearl Harbor, he fought under MacArthur, 17, with an Army Thompson gun. God bless y'all. Thank you. You guys feel fired up? Somewhere in this room, there's people right now, and you're thinking about it. You're thinking about running for those spots, aren't you? I'm going to put you on the spot. Is anybody in here thinking about making a move? Yep. I hope y'all have to primary each other. You going to do it? You going to do it? What are you going to do, sister? What you going to do? Oh, wow, yeah. So, what do you think you might do? Yes. County commissioner, I like the sounds of that. Would you vote for her for county commissioner? Ching chong, ching chong. There it is. Let's do it. You got to think they're pretty scared on the other side right now. Like they're going, uh-oh, we woke them up. Uh-oh, oops. Yeah? You should find energy in that. I think it's so important that we do stuff like we're doing right now. You know, the other side's been doing stuff like this. They all get together and talk and hang out, and they figure out what they're going to do, and we just go to work every day and raise our kids every day, right? We thought it was covered, but it wasn't covered. So now we're going to go in there and we're going to cover it. You know, we're going to send them to work every day, and we're going to go in there and fix the mess and do it. So county commissioner, who's going to run for the school board? Yes? You don't have to do it. If you're going to do it, go, me, I'm running. You going to run? Could you fix it? You give him a fit, wouldn't you? As my daddy would say, you would hair lip the devil. That's what my dad said. You ever heard that phrase? That's my dad. My dad's a preacher, a prison preacher. My dad preaches in prisons. Yeah. He's not big on the big fancy preachers. He's not into that. My dad preached at 32 Mardi Gras in a row with a guitar around. I know, right? That sounds hilarious. Except think about it. He's standing down there on a French Quarter with a guitar around his neck, kind of like this, by himself, singing gospel songs and preaching as the parades are going by. And there's a picture of my dad I have hanging on my wall, and I never knew what I was exactly looking at till several years back. I said, what is that all over? I said, what is that all over your clothes and guitar? He goes, spit. I said, that is spit? He goes, they spit on me from head to toe 32 years in a row. I said, why did you keep doing that? He goes, because every now and then one person would stop and want to know what I was talking about. Every now and then. That's a preacher. Any questions for me? I mean, I know it's not a question answer kind of thing, but listen. Yes, ma'am. Would I run for governor? Hey, maybe. I tell you what, I'm going to lay this thing on Bill Leigh next week. And if he does not move at a speed that I find to be satisfactory as a public servant of this state, I'm going to make him real famous real fast in the national news, and then he's going to have to do it. Now, listen. I think he means well. He's not exactly as doesn't lay the law as hard as I'd like to see it get laid down, you know. I think he plays a little nice. But let's give him an opportunity when I drop this on the desk and go, these people are breaking the law and they are assaulting our kids. Fix it, right? That's what I'm going to tell him. I go, here's all the info. By the way, why do I have to bring you this information? This is your statute. Right. So Sexton's going to have a shot at it, and Governor Bill Lee's going to have a shot at it, and let's give him, what do you think we give him, 2 weeks? Less than that? I think I'll give him 2 weeks. Pardon? Penny Schwinn? Boo. Go after them all. Listen, you cannot be loyal anymore to an R or a D or an I. Just throw those letters out of your brain. Listen, getting mad at a liberal because they're doing liberal things is like getting mad at a skunk because it stinks. It's a skunk. It stinks. Don't get mad at the skunk. That's what the skunk does. But Republicans that come out here and stick us in the back rooms and they say one thing on TV, then they do another thing with their ink pen, those are the big threats right there. Those are the ones that need to be primaried and taken out, put back out. Those are the real dangerous ones. You can't believe them. I'm going to do a song for the girls. I got to do a song for the girls and the guys. This might be the dumbest song ever written, but it helped build a piece of my house, so I'm grateful for it. Where are all the country girls out there? Where are you at, ladies? I'm pretty sure this song caused a small baby boom in the early 2000s. Sing it if you know it. Hey, ho! Yeah, well, I walk into the room, passing out $100 bills, and it kills and it thrills like the horns on my Silverado grill. I buy the ball, triple round a crown. Everybody's getting down in this town. What? It ain't never gonna be the same. Y'all sing it, 'cause I saddle up my horse and I ride into the city. I make a lot of noise, 'cause the girls, they are so pretty. I be riding up and down Broadway on my old stud Leroy, and the girls say, horse, ride a cowboy. There you go. Everybody say, horse, ride a cowboy. Yeah, well, I don't give a damn about nothing. I'm singing and bling blinging while the girls are drinking. Sing it, girls. That was your spot. How long has it been since you've gone to Broadway? Maybe we should go down the Redneck Riviera and remind you of where you come from. We're going to try that one more time. Well, I don't give a damn about nothing. I'm singing and bling blinging while the girls are drinking. Hey, and I wouldn't trade old Leroy or my Chevrolet for your Escalade or your freak parade. I'm the only John Wayne left in this town, and I saddle up my old and I ride into the city. I make a lot of noise, 'cause the girls, they are so pretty. Be riding up and down Broadway on my old stud Leroy, and the girls say, horse, ride a cowboy. And everybody say, the same horse, ride a cowboy. Well, I'm a thoroughbred, that's what she said. The back of my truck bed as we was getting buzzed on suds out on some fat country road. We were flying high, flying as wide, having ourselves a patriotic kind of time. I was going about as far as she let me go. Get your hands up. Come on, but her evaluation of my cowboy reputation had me begging for salvation all night long. Well, I took her out gigging frog, introduced her to my old bird dog, sang her every Gretchen Wilson song I could think of, and we made love, and I saddle up my old, and I ride into the city. I make a lot of noise, 'cause the girls, they are so pretty. Be riding up and down Broadway on my old stud Leroy, and the girls say, horse, ride a cowboy. And everybody say, horse, ride a cowboy. What? St. Horse, ride a cowboy. Last time, everybody sing it. Ride a cowboy. Are you feeling good? Put your hands together for this county one time. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. Don't let these people steal your good time, by the way. You ever look throughout the day and you go, I think I've had my eyebrows crunched down all day. You ever feel like that? Like just, Don't let them do that. You can get them crunched down for a minute and then go, What a bunch of idiots. And then go out and throw the baseball around with your kids or something. Thank you guys for inviting me here. It's been an honor to speak to you. I know the next leaders of this county are going to come right out of these white chairs in this little room. We're going to look back at this little hang and the other ones you're having and go, that's when we all woke up right there. So proud of this county, proud of the people in this room, proud to be a part of it at all. This is an important time in our nation's history, and we're all awake and watching it happen, and we're going to be a part of what happens, ain't we? Can I get a hell yeah one time on that? One last song. I think this is probably the modern-day Star Spangled Banner. One of the greatest songs ever written. I can't sing it like he does, but I do know the words, and I know you do too, so we'll do our best. Brother Leigh Greenwood. Ain't nobody better than Brother Leigh. If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, where the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no town I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Y'all sing it loud now. And I'm proud to be an American. Right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. God bless Williamson County. You guys go get them, all right? God bless y'all. Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. I'd like to bring up to the stage the lady who invited me here. Such an instigator she is. And a B-1 bomber pilot. B-1 bomber pilot. Now she's a mom. How would you like to be some weak-kneed liberal sitting on the other side of the desk from an upset mother who knows how to fly a B-1 bomber, huh? Miss Robin Steeman, y'all, put your hands together for her.
Thank you, John Rich. Well, if I had to do this again, I would not follow John Rich. That was poor planning on my part. I will only take about 10 more minutes of your time. If you could hang out with us for just a few more. I'm honored to be in your presence tonight. I'm excited to stand with patriots like John Rich and Big John and Grant Henry and the Starbucks and Leigh Allyn and Clay Travis. It's quite a lineup. But I'm mad, actually. I'm a mad mom. The left loves conflict, do they not? They revel in it. They thrive on it. They love to be offended and then to demand an apology. They want you to bend the knee, swear fealty, use their words that they choose and redefine. They like to redefine diversity, equity, inclusion, social justice. They troll you on Twitter. They bully. They twist your words. I know something about that. And they'll all out slander you for their agenda. But for those that are rooted in God and family and country, when the storm comes, our roots get deeper. My roots have gotten deeper, if you can't tell. Conservatives live their lives and expect everyone else to do the same. Live and let live. Raise your kids. Work hard. Do your best. Try to achieve more in life than your parents did before you. That's the American dream. We don't thrill in imposing our will on anybody else. And we don't thrill in the fight. We don't actually want to fight. But if backed into a corner, we will. I will. And will you? So who would you bet on? The person who fights for sport or the person that fights because their back is against the wall and they have no choice? That's me. The person that knows that by fighting, their life will never again be the same. There is sacrifice just in taking up the fight. That is the person that I would put my money on. 7 months ago, not that long, I was happy in my life of relative obscurity. I was focused on raising my 3 children, focused on my family, my health, and that is no more. As much as I love being here with you all, this event represents sacrifice for my family. It represents my children saying, "Mommy, why do you have to be on the phone so much? Why can't you come play? Why do you have to be on your computer?" These are real sacrifices that we make because we believe in what we're fighting for, because our backs are against a wall, and this is for our kids. And my response to my children is this: Mommy does it because I want you to be free. When you grow up, you should be in as free a country as I inherited from my parents, and I will fight for that, and there will be sacrifices made. John Quincy Adams famously wrote, "I am a warrior so that my son may be a merchant, so that his son may be a poet." And ladies and gentlemen, I am a warrior so that my kids will be free. I hope you understand that I don't do anything halfway, and hopefully the evidence is around you. When we do something here at Williamson Families, we're going to do it big and we're going to do it right. And when I vow to fight to course correct this county, you know I'm a mama bear with her back in the corner. I will do it. When you give to this PAC, it will be used to course correct the county. For those that are wanting to run for school board and commissioner, and I want the diamonds in the rough, I don't need more politicians. I want statesmen that are doing this out of their civic duty. They see a need for leadership in their county with conservative values, and that's why they do it, not for political power and not for personal gain. This PAC will be used to put statesmen in office to drain the swamp in Williamson County, because guess what? There is one. It was not even a week. In fact, it was about 24 hours. We launched on October 6th in time for early voting, And 24 hours later, the swamp unveiled itself in grand fashion. It's deeper than even I realize. And all of us are going to get to the bottom of that together. And also to rip out leftist ideology in our schools. So the old way of doing things, the establishment, the good old boy network, the way it's always been done, is not going to fix this. It's not going to course correct Williamson County. Yes, I am a pilot. I equate so many things to flying. I drive everybody on the Williamson family's board nuts because I still use the jargon. It's just in my DNA. But as I see Williamson County, a lot like flying, if you're in an aircraft going about 200 knots, which is like standard airliner, or going into land, and you're off by 1 or 2 degrees, that much on your instruments is not a big deal for about a minute or so. But if you just held 1 degree off course for an hour, you are 9 miles off course. You do that for 3 hours, now you are 27 miles off course. You may not even find where you're supposed to land before you run out of gas. You may be so off course that you crash into a mountain of leftist ideology. Other cities are in that smoking hole over there. Oregon, LA, San Fran, Austin. Let's not join them. So to do a course correction, if you should be flying and you happen to notice you're far off course, it's not a little turn that you put in, like 30 degrees of bank and we'll get there eventually. No, if you're way off course like Williamson County is, you bank it up and you pull and you get back on your trajectory. You put some G on the jet and you do it. And that's what Williamson County has to do. And I can't do that alone. Williamson County is massive. Okay? South Lake families did that. They had 50,000. We have 240,000. I need all of you to join the cause. How do you help? Well, you sign up, you get involved, you follow us on social media, you canvass yourself. Do I want to run? And yes, we want you, the diamonds in the rough, the ones that had never considered it before. Ask me if I considered even 3 months ago that I was going to start a PAC. Okay? Consider running so that we can support you. Consider donating so that we can support the campaigns of true patriots and statesmen. Because without money to push these candidates, we're dead in the water. There will be no course correction. I literally cannot be up here standing by myself saying, I'm going to do this. No. This is Williamson Families PAC is of the families, by the families, and for the families. I know that sounds a little bit cheesy, but I cannot find a better way to put it. So let's start a movement. Let's do this together, 2022. Let's take Williamson County back. We are tired of being a conservative county led by 90% liberals. At this time, I would like to introduce the Williamson Families Board so you can put names with faces. So would the Williamson Families Board please come to the stage?
All right, we have some good news for you guys. Glenn Youngkin has been elected governor of Virginia. We're not done yet, though. We won every statewide race, and we're winning a vast majority of the delegate races. This is a total knockout.
Let's do it right here in 2022. Leigh Hardy, Vice Chair. Shara Dixon. Shara Dixon, where are you? I think I see her way back there. Treasurer, Steve Hickey. Secretary. I'd also like to invite our district leaders to come up. You guys were supposed to be ready, like right back in there. All right, so part of Williamson Families, why they're coming up here, is we have to get out from behind our computer monitors. We have to get to know our neighbors. We have to talk across the fence. We have to reinstill community and sense of neighborhood and belonging. And how you do that is you get to know your fellow constituents in your districts. And the district leaders are going to do a great job. They are the tip of the spear for that. They told me a couple weeks ago they want to revive Southern hospitality. So when your district leader hosts an event in your district or your neighborhood, understand that that is a priority. We have got to reinstill community if we're going to be a community. Make time to go, to meet people, and to build the relationships. All right, District 1, Amay. District 2, Jenny Peach. District 3, Natalie. District 4, Sally. District 5, Megan. District 6, we've got 2, Carrie and Kimberly. District 7, Angela. District 8, Char. District 9, Patricia. 10 is, where's Lisa? Oh, over there. And 11's over there too. And we've got District 12, Chelsea. So if you haven't already, please go sign up at the table so your district leader can push information to you. It's 2022 is not far away. It's going to happen fast, so we've got to get on it. Decide if you want to run, because the candidates will come forward from the families. They will be vetted by the families and then supported by the families while running and then once in office, because we're not going to install a new elected leader and be like, okay, have fun with that while the left just Twitter trolls you and whatnot. No, we will stay and support and defend the candidates and the elected officials that stand for conservative values. And without any further ado, thank you for coming and being a part of the Williamson Families PAC Kickoff. I can't thank you enough.
Take me back to the old dirt road where Mama and Papa used to go. Let's sing all them songs from a long time ago and pine for them old days of yore. Well, let me run through the breeze like